Atheist Roundtable, a gathering place for rational people. Funny pictures and videos.
Profound atheist quotes.
The religious going crazy.
The latest news.
World domination. Casual discussions.
Baby eating.
The ultimate forum for a lively dialogue. Come join the fun at atheistroundtable.com.
Pakistani teenager Malala Yousafzai has committed 2 crimes. She advocated for girls' education and criticised the Taliban. When she was 11, she wrote a blog for the BBC. Using a pseudonym, she gave a young girl's impression of life under Taliban rule in Pakistan's Swat Valley. After government forces kicked out the terrorists, Malala started speaking out publicly. On Tuesday 9th of October, a lone gunman stepped onto her school bus and demanded that Malala be pointed out to him. He then shot her in the head and the neck. At a later time, the Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack and promised to finish the job started should Malala survive her wounds. If the Taliban was hoping to scare Pakistanis, they were greatly mistaken. Rallies in support of the teenager erupted spontaneously all over the country. Even the country's top military officer publicly condemned the terrorist actions and visited Malala in hospital. General Ashfaq Parvez Kayani said in attacking Malala, the terrorists have failed to grasp that she is not only an individual, but an icon of courage and hope, who vindicates the great sacrifices that the people of Swat and the nation give for wresting the valley from the scourge of terrorism. On Friday, October 12th, the Pakistani Day of Prayer was dedicated to the shooting victim Malala Yousafzai. Clerics all over the country declared that the attempted murder was un-Islamic. Some 50 Muslim scholars had previously issued a joint fatwa condemning the attack on the girl and asked that all Muslims observe a day of condemnation. Islam holds the killing of one innocent person as killing the entirety of humanity, declared Hamid Syed Kazmi, a previous religious affairs minister. It also forbids the killing of a woman who has even denounced her religion. This last comment was a direct response to the Taliban, which had previously excused its actions because the young girl had supposedly led a campaign against Islam. In their joint statement, the Pakistani clerics declared that attacking innocent women and children was not jihad. They also expressed the opinion that the Taliban had defamed Islam, undermined their country and legitimised the claims that Muslims are nothing but terrorists.
The Society of St. Pius X, or SSPX, is a breakaway Catholic subset which has been officially excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church since 1988, when the group's founder, Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, consecrated 4 bishops in direct opposition to an order given by Pope John Paul II. The current Pope, Benedict XVI, remitted the excommunications for the bishops who were still alive at the time, including one who, to the great embarrassment of the pontiff, turned out to be a Holocaust denier. More recently, the Holy See sent a letter offering conditions under which the entire SSPX could be again taken under the umbrella of the Roman Catholic Church in a similar role to that of Opus Dei. Most of the conditions centered around a desire that the SSPX accept the reforms in Catholic teaching and procedures enacted in the 1962 Vatican II Council, and as being in keeping with the Catholic belief. Rejecting the offer, the head of the SSPX German branch, Reverend Franz Schmittberger, wrote, "We cannot recognize this hermeneutic of continuity." Many are familiar with the Salem, Massachusetts witch trials of 1693. But many do not know that Connecticut was hanging witches a full 40 years earlier. A descendant of one of those victims is Bernice Mabel Graham Tilliam. While researching her family tree, Miss Graham Tilliam stumbled upon information that her 7th grandmother, Mary Barnes, was hanged as a witch in Connecticut in 1663. The 82-year-old has written a book titled My Grandmother Was Hanged, where she tells the shocking story of her ancestor. Her book is also part of an effort to get the state of Connecticut to clear the names of those executed falsely during the ancient witch hunts. Unlike other states, Connecticut has refused to clear the names of those executed, claiming that it doesn't grant posthumous pardons. This doesn't sit well with Bernice and others who have joined together to introduce legislation that would acknowledge the witch trials. Connecticut's General Assembly listened to expert testimony but ultimately rejected the measure. Anthony Griego, who was driving the effort, said that the evidence was so circumstantial and virtually improvable that the only sure way to conviction was a voluntary confession. Because few court records remain from the trials, Bernice is not exactly sure why her seventh grandmother was accused of witchcraft to begin with. It is the chilling court decree condemning Mary Barnes to death that will haunt Bernice forever. It reads, "Mary Barnes, thou art here indicted by the name of Mary Barnes for not having the fear of God before thine eyes. Thou hast entertained familiarity with Satan, the grand enemy of God and mankind, and by his help has acted things in a preternatural way beyond human abilities, in a natural course for which, according to the law of God and the established law of the Commonwealth, thou deservest to die." It was just terrible, Tillian says. The giant causeway is a geological feature found in Northern Ireland where people can see some 40,000 interlocking basaltic columns forming what looks like a causeway. It has become so famous that UNESCO has named it a World Heritage Site. When the National Trust decided to create a 18.5 million touristic center, the local creationists managed to convince the institution to add an audio exhibit presenting their view of how the causeway was formed some 6,000 years ago. It didn't take long before a campaign was started to get rid of the creationist recording, which said, "Young Earth creationists believed that the Earth was created some 6,000 years ago. This is based on a specific interpretation of the Bible and, in particular, the account of creation in the book of Genesis. Some people around the world, and specifically here in Northern Ireland, share this perspective." After nearly 3 months, the National Trust has finally decided to replace the creationist recording. Project Director Graham Thompson said that the National Trust only endorses the scientific explanations of the origin of the stones, yet recognizes that others have alternative beliefs. This leaves out in the cold a third group, the believers of the giant Fionn McCool, who supposedly built the causeway.